And so again, thank you for being here. I do want to just apologize. Many of you were on in our meeting last week that we actually canceled. We had no idea that the message had gotten out to parents. And so we ended up canceling that meeting, unbeknownst to me that some of you were in that meeting. So again, I do apologize for you being there and we weren't there, but very happy that you're here today. So I would like to introduce Jennifer LaRock. She is the quote unquote principal for virtual school. She will be in charge of virtual school. And so Jennifer will be presenting today. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will get those answered later on in the presentation. And please keep yourself muted. And again, any questions, put them in the chat. Thank you all. Oh, hold on, Jennifer. Okay.
Okay, am I on?
Yeah.
Good, everyone can hear me? Wonderful, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer LaRock and I'm on the support team for virtual school. As you can see, I'm joined on the call here by Heidi Joyner, Assistant Superintendent of Edge Services, and I think I saw Assistant Superintendent of HR, Brent Marquez Valenti, on the line as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time with us this afternoon. We know the importance of the decision that you need to make for your family, and we want to ensure that you are as informed as you can be for this upcoming school year, which we have been planning since early May. All of our decisions and our plan designs are in accordance with the San Mateo County and CDC health and safety guidelines. Jefferson is going to be offering our families 2 options for learning beginning in August. And through this presentation, we are mainly going to focus on the virtual school option. We will touch on what the hybrid model will look like so that you can make an educated comparison for your family. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. If for some reason the presentation starts to get a little glitchy, my advice would be to stop showing your video. We have almost 200 people on the call, so to kind of
Jennifer, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, it kind of went out.
Oh boy.
We can hear you. Uh-oh. Your screen.
Here. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, but we can.
No? Yes? No?
Change your screen.
So I have up the virtual school presentation now. Do you have it? So I think if people turn off their videos, it'd be helpful. In fact, maybe I can even turn off mine. That's helpful. So our presentation's about 25 minutes, and then we'll have some time for some questions. Please make sure to use the chat box if you have questions, and Dr. Joyner will be monitoring the chat box. We'll end towards the end of the presentation in hopes that the majority of the questions are covered during the presentation. And of course, for answer the questions, we will give you a follow-up email or presentation later. Heidi, I'm watching you, so if you can't hear me, put your thumb down. Okay, here we go. So it's our goal to get the students back on campus in our traditional model as soon as the county and CDC county guidelines allow. Will that be this year or next year? We don't know at this point. But we do know that the 2 models that we are planning for this upcoming school year is our hybrid blended learning model and our virtual school model. I'll go into a little more detail on the next slide, but essentially our hybrid model is based on the San Mateo County Health and Safety Guidelines 4 pillars. We need to keep physical distancing, limit large gatherings, have students at a certain grade level, have face coverings, and can we reach the health and hygiene of all the students and staff? And it's a mix of in-person and at-home learning, where our virtual model takes into account those students and families for either a medical or personal reason are not able to attend personal learning yet. When we designed our programs, we looked at the options through the lens of equity, keeping in mind that our families have varying health and safety concerns, varying social and emotional concerns, and as a district, we need to continue to offer our students a level of rigor that best meets our traditional model of teaching and learning. So with all these elements and the San Mateo County Health Guidelines and CDC guidelines, we believe that we've created options to meet the needs of our family. Our two options for fall are hybrid and virtual school. And our hybrid model is a mix of in-person learning and at-home learning. Most likely, when we will start in distance learning, but when we are able to move into the hybrid learning model, we'll most likely have students on campus 2 days a week and at home working independently 3 days a week. This will look different than it did in the spring. So at home, students will not be on Zoom with their teacher. They will be in class teaching a small group of students each day. So on students at home days, they'll be supplied with support materials as a follow-up lesson to the lessons that they experienced in class. The hybrid model allows for intervention support to those students who need additional assistance. In some cases, there might be an option for students to be on campus 3 days a week with their teacher. Please note that the hybrid model is to be designed to be half in person and part at home. But we need to be flexible as the county guidelines change very frequently. The hybrid model is meant to be flexible as well. And as the guidelines become more strict, the hybrid program is going to be modified to be more at a full-time, full in-home model as we are starting the year. And as the guidelines start to loosen, we start to be able to bring the hybrid model on more fully with students on campus. Though our goal is to stay on campus as much as possible, we must follow the guidelines. We are prepared for the hybrid program to move in and out of distance learning if needed. So please note that the distance learning program is different than the virtual school learning. Virtual school is our second option. The focus of this presentation, virtual school is 100% online, and it requires a year commitment from families. So even if the county guidelines allow for the students to be on campus more frequently, students enrolled in virtual school will remain online for the entire year. As guidelines change, we'll look into maybe bringing some of the virtual school students on campus for enrichment classes, most likely in the springtime. Now, the virtual school has a different curriculum than the hybrid model, than what students are using in years past. Virtual school is an independent, standards-based program taken completely online. Virtual school offers a more dependent format that will not change based on the county and health standards since it's at home. Virtual school is using an online program and it's called Edgenuity. And it's been around since about 1998 and was a recommended program from the San Mateo County office. We'll show you some sample lessons, a little bit more in the program, but all the lessons have a teacher embedded in the video lessons assisting your child through the lesson. Additionally, we'll also have a Jefferson teacher assigned to your child to support them with any learning that they need support with or pushed a little deeper. Please note that the virtual school with Edgenuity is not going to look like distance learning in the fall. Virtual school will have standards-based report cards, progress reports, daily attendance is expected just like the hybrid and the traditional school models. And depending on enrollment, a Jefferson teacher may be assigned to multiple grade levels of students. For example, a Jefferson teacher might have a classroom of second graders and third graders, or kindergartners and first graders. However, this will not change the grade level lesson your child receives from Edgenuity. I might repeat myself a little bit through the presentation, but we're unloading a lot of information today. So if you happen to miss it the first time, hopefully you'll get it around the second time. And if you need it a third time, we'll make the presentation available for you. So Edgenuity is a blend of virtual and independent learning. Students are going to log onto their Edgenuity account and receive a checklist of activities for the day. Some activities will be interactive online, and others will be listening to a video lesson and then performing an independent practice. If you join virtual school, you are absolutely still a part of Jefferson Elementary School District. Virtual school is a new school for our district. And as mentioned earlier, virtual school is an option for our families who are either medically or personally not comfortable with our in-person option, the hybrid model. And we're of course offering virtual school to no cost to our families. Every virtual school student will be assigned a Jefferson teacher. This teacher may not be from your child's homeschool, but will be a credential certified teacher. Edgenuity is aligned to our district and state standards. The standards covered in virtual school are the same standards being covered in the hybrid model, just using a different curriculum and a different delivery method. Virtual school will offer classes in our core areas, English language arts, math, science, and social studies. We're also going to embed a social emotional component and add on electives throughout the year. As healthy guidelines allow, we'll be also looking into having some of our virtual school students join students on campus for some electives if they feel comfortable, but most likely not until the springtime. The next couple of slides is going to show an example lesson from Edgenuity, the virtual school program. But the lessons designed with Edgenuity, the teacher is embedded in the lesson, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. The Jefferson teacher is not live during the lesson. The Jefferson teacher will follow up with the students during their office hours to present a mini lesson or a re-engagement for those students who did not understand the video lesson on Edgenuity. A virtual school student will have a level of responsibility. They're going to need to know when they comprehend a lesson and when they need additional support. The Jefferson teacher will be checking all the work the student turns in and will be helpful in engaging which students master a standard and which students are going to require a little more support. But the Jefferson teacher, again, will not be live during the Edgenuity video lessons. For some of the lessons, the teacher, the Edgenuity teacher, is embedded and will ask them to pause the lesson and do some independent work, which they should do. Most of the middle school independent work is going to be turned in online. Some of the kindergarten through 5th grade independent work will be in a workbook, which of course we'll get to you. Again, in the spring, we'll look into bringing some of the virtual school students back on campus for electives if the parents are okay with that. So the learning platform for Edgenuity is similar to Google Classroom, which your teacher may have used last year. In the start of this clip, they're going to talk a little bit about what the Edgenuity platform looks like. Just think of it like Google Classroom, where the kids go to get messages from their teacher, the checklist of assignments for the day. It'll give you a little bit more in-depth look of what the students will see when they log on for virtual school in Edgenuity. Now this clip is 8 minutes. We're only going to listen to about 4 minutes of it.
Jennifer, we can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
I can't hear it.
Oh man, I don't know how to do that. I can talk about what's going on if you can hear me. Right here, so this is the platform that the kids will be logging onto. This is where on the left-hand side, you'll see the list of their daily tasks that they need to get through. They're all color-coded. I forget exactly the color-coded, what it means, but blue ones means they need to do, red ones means they have done it. And again, this is more of a middle school experience. So if you look, I'll play it in a second and he'll tell you what the student's grade
You might need to
Can
take your headphones out. Is it attached to your computer?
Let me see if I play it, if this works. Oh, shoot. Sorry, hang on, guys. Can you hear that?
Welcome to Edgenuity, where learning clicks. Now, logging into Edgenuity is easy. Just enter your username and your password at learn.edgenuity.com/student. Once you've logged in, your course list appears here in the lobby. Here you can also check new messages, including chat and email, and you can also view any new announcements. To access a course, just click its title. Once you've selected a course, you can view your progress right here. And if you're on track, your progress will appear in blue. If you're ahead, you'll see your progress in green. But if you see your progress shown in red, it means you've fallen behind. You'll need to put in some extra time to get caught up. You can also view your overall grade. Notice that this student has an overall grade of 87.5%. That means he has a B+ on the work he has completed so far. Pretty good. But remember that this student is behind, so his actual grade takes that into account. Your actual grade factors in zeros for any activities you should have completed by now and haven't. If you're behind, your actual grade will always be lower than your overall grade. So you'll want to put in some extra time and get back on target to bring your actual grade back up. Now we're ready to jump into a lesson. For whatever course is selected, your current lesson and next activity are shown here. To get started, you can click Next Activity, or you can go to the entire structure of the course. Most activities will show up grayed out and locked. To work on any activity that's unlocked, click the activity title. This activity is a warm-up or introduction. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm your instructor. Well, take a look at this drawing.
This activity starts with a video. You can pause and rewind the video at any time using the video controls here. If you've already watched the video the whole way through once, you can fast forward to the part you want to see again. However, you can't fast forward through any video. You do need to watch every video once all the way through. You can control the volume here. And you can turn captions on here. It's important to know that most of the important information you'll be tested on will be taught here in the videos. So pay attention and take good notes. You'll find your e-notes or digital notebook here. Take notes at any time. Pause the video if you want to, or if you're a fast typist, you can take notes while the teacher is talking. Once you add a note to your notebook, you can go back and edit it if you need to. Just click the note and it'll appear in the e-notes text box. Edit your note and click Save. Now you may find that you want to add more to your notes. In advanced mode, you can use formatting tools like tables, an equation editor, a symbol palette, and bulleted lists. You can even spell check your notes. We find that students who take notes tend to do better on quizzes and tests. Taking the time to write down the important ideas in your own words will help you process and remember what you learn. So use your e-notes. Another helpful tool is the glossary, found on this second tab. All the vocabulary words for the lesson will appear here, but you can also look up any word you want. To go back to the lesson word list, just close the word lookup window. The third tab contains a transcript of the current activity. You can view this transcript in English, or you can translate it into any supported language, as long as you have the translation enabled. Just open the transcript and select your language here. Sometimes the video will pause, and you'll be asked to complete a task. On any task, you can use the tools in your toolbar. In math and science courses, you can use the built-in calculators to solve problems. Depending on the course, you might have access to.
Okay, there's the idea of a middle school program where you again see the teacher that's embedded in the video teaching the lesson as the child listens. Here's an example of a 4th grade lesson. Again, the video's longer. We're only gonna watch about a minute of it just to give you an idea. Oops, hang on. Getting ahead of ourselves.
Ned must enter the latest
chart may be used to express fractions as decimals.
Going in and out the volume.
Separates the ones place from the tens
Can you hear
place.
it?
To write the fraction 2 tenths as a decimal, simply write a 2 in the tens place. To write the fraction 35 hundredths as a decimal, write a 3 in the tens place and a 5 in the hundredths place. When writing a mixed fraction as a mixed decimal,
We can't hear it.
write the whole number to the left of the decimal point.
Can't hear it. Darn, I didn't change from what I did to the first one. Were you able to hear the first lesson?
Yes.
Okay. It's basically the same thing. They're walking a student through how to change decimals into fractions and back and forth. And I'll just fast forward. They show the lesson in a couple different ways. So if a student doesn't understand it one way, they then go forward and they show the student how to do it a different way. And then what they do is they ask the student to pause, and they have to manually, then the student does a little bit of it. So they show the student what to do, they do it with the student, and then they have the student do it themselves and plug in the correct information. I'm sorry that you weren't able to hear that. It was a computer voice though, So let's take a moment and take a look at what a student at virtual school daily schedule might look like. This is obviously not set in stone. We are still working with our teachers and with the program to find out the best way to reach all of our students and staff, but this would be a sample schedule. So every morning your child will log on to a Zoom call with their Jefferson teacher and their classmates in their classroom. Our teachers will have a similar caseload than our traditional model, so plan to see anywhere between 20 to 30 kids on the morning Zoom. And the 20-minute morning call will be used for attendance for the day, any community building within the classroom, and announcements that the teacher might want to share about the day's lesson. Following their morning meeting, each student will get off their Zoom, and then they'll log on to their Edgenuity account in that first video that we saw. And they'll open up their checklist of activities for the day that the Jefferson teacher goes through and sets up on Edgenuity for them. There's going to be about 50 or 60 minutes of English language arts work, and then 50 or 60 minutes of math work every day. And then around 11 o'clock, they can get up and do a little exercise either outside or around the house, or we may filter in some elective movement there. And then following that will be an hour split into 2 groups. So the Jefferson teacher will then log on and meet with half of the class on a Zoom call to discuss any struggles or questions that they might have had in the morning lesson, while the other half of the class is doing independent reading, or again, an area where we may be able to filter in some electives for the kids. We can provide you with a list of grade level appropriate books and resources and help you obtain a library card if you'd like. And then after that, around 12:30, the kids will break for lunch. And at 1:30, they'll return to Edgenuity.
Jennifer,
And that yes?
sorry, you had broken up. I can hear you now.
I'm not sure where you lost me, but I'm at lunch.
Okay.
So at lunch, the students will break for their lunch, and at 1:30, they'll log back on to Edgenuity, and they'll have their science or their social studies class. And at 2:30, their school day ends. And a Jefferson teacher will definitely have parent office hours twice a week, so you can check in with your child's teacher if you felt needed. So students are going to receive grades aligned with district and state standards at virtual school, similar to traditional school. Students are expected to keep up with their workload and engage daily with their teacher. And if a student starts to fall drastically behind, we'll have to meet and discuss alternate options for your child to make sure that they are successful. So every student, again, is going to be assigned a Jefferson teacher to facilitate their learning and support their challenge areas. Edgenuity teachers are embedded in the daily lessons, and they are not available for conferences or any personal attention. Once we know our student enrollment, which is our big teacher will reach you and discuss any specifics on the child's schedule or the teacher's schedule. Virtual school is not set up to run without adult support at home. By attending virtual school, the family must commit to assigning their child an at-home learning coach. The at-home learning coach can be a parent, a high school student, or older age sibling, a grandparent, or another adult. The learning coach needs to be available to the student during school hours, 8:30 to 2:30. For the first couple of months, the learning coach will need to sit side by side with the student during Edgenuity lessons. Some of the lessons will require an adult to read or play a learning game with. We do expect there to be a little bit of a learning curve for students and for teachers at the start of the program, and students will need an adult next to them to support them clicking through the lessons and keeping up with their assignments. We'll have a training for students and all for the learning coaches in the near future if you select virtual school. The learning coach is going to be crucial to the success of the student. Your student is also going to need a Chromebook or a laptop and stable Wi-Fi, and we can help you with any of the technology needs that you need. We'll have a form for you to fill out. If you haven't filled it out already, we can get it to you. And as important as the learning coach, a dedicated desk space is going to be very important. Each virtual school student should have a quiet area in the house dedicated for school time. This can be a desk in the bedroom, a quiet table in the dining room, or even on the kitchen counter if there aren't any disruptions around. And headphones for the Chromebook will make a great addition to the child's workspace, and it'll help filter out distractions. So as mentioned earlier, virtual school will maintain the same level of rigor as our traditional and hybrid model. And when you enroll in virtual school, you are making a commitment to the virtual school schedule, a learning coach, and our attendance and grading policy. Just a little bit more information on the learning coach. Every student will need one. The learning coach can be a parent, a high school sibling, a grandparent. The learning coach will need to be available to help navigate the student through the program. More so the first couple of weeks of school, and then as your child's comfort level becomes more independent, the learning coach should be available, but doesn't necessarily need to sit right beside the child. Some of the lessons require students to read to the learning coach or play a learning game, like I mentioned. The involvement of the learning coach will be a direct reflection of the success of a student in virtual. School is a grade class to our traditional model. In order to build our classes and assign teachers and train the learning coaches, we need a commitment from our families. Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, July 31st is when we need to know if you would like to be part of virtual school.
Yes.
As a reminder, virtual school is a year-long commitment. No matter what the health conditions do, virtual school will remain in place and stable for the entire year. If your child is enrolled in virtual school, their spot in our hybrid program becomes vacant. And if a new child transfers to your home school, we need to offer them that vacant spot. Essentially, your child cannot occupy 2 spots in 2 schools. We'll do our best to return all students to their home school in 2021-2022. In minimal situations, if families' health reasons have changed and they'd like to transfer their student to the hybrid model, we will work with families on an individual basis, but not prior to December 14th. Special education students are able to enroll in virtual school. Programming will include curriculum instructions that supports their IEP goals and encourage students in engagement. The lessons from Edgenuity will be the same for the whole class. and the assigned Jefferson teacher will make modifications and accommodations for special ed students during office hours. Students will be able to schedule their related teletherapy services at a time that doesn't interfere with core instruction. And if you have any individual questions about special education with virtual school, you should contact Dr. James Adams. It's really important to note the difference between distance learning and virtual school. Our hybrid model is distance learning. And a student in distance learning will move in and out of distance learning based on county and health guidelines. As of today, all hybrid students are beginning the school year in distance learning, similar to the spring. As the guidelines allow, we will pivot the hybrid program into 2 days a week in school, 3 days a week at home. Virtual school will not pivot. Distance learning pivots, virtual school will not pivot. We will remain an intact program regardless of the county and health guidelines. So distance learning is referring to the hybrid model moving in and off of campus. Virtual school refers to our stable online program that we outlined today. I have no doubt I went in and out of voice and maybe I glitched a little. My apologies. I know Dr. Joyner has been monitoring the chat box and my guess is there's quite a few. We'll have her read some and answer some questions, but again, we are recording this. If I talked too fast, we can certainly send it out and you can re-listen to it. It is a new program for us. We may not have all the answers right now, but rest assured we are working around the clock to get as many answers as we can and have a wonderful program in place before school starts.
So thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to, I've been monitoring the chat box and thank you all for your questions. Many of the questions are very similar, so I'm going to go through the questions and kind of synthesize. And to be clear, today's conversation is about virtual school. If you have questions about the hybrid model, please send me an email. If you have questions, I see questions about sending the school supply list. Please contact your school site to find out what the school supply lists are. We don't have those answers. Those are individual schools can answer questions. So one of the main questions about the virtual school is the notion that students will lose their place at their school site. So let me explain what that means. So essentially virtual school is, if you think of it, we added another school in our district for this year, and that would be virtual school. And so if you choose this model, you're taking your student out of their current school and putting them into virtual school. And so we can't have students in two schools. So that's one reason why they would not have a spot at their home school or the school that they're currently at. We also don't know how many students are going to be in virtual school, which will also determine the number of teachers that we have. So if we have enough students who join virtual school, we have to get those teachers, which means some of those are JESD teachers, depending on what schools they come from, will be in the virtual school. So your home school, let's say if I have a third grader at SBA, and several of the third grade teachers are now virtual school teachers, we no longer have, enough third grade teachers at SBA. And so if we get more new students into this school district, they will either join virtual school or they will join that whatever school is available. So we don't have enough spots. So we're saying we cannot guarantee that your student would be placed back at their school, but we will work to put them back where they started as best as we can. So it's not something that we're intentionally doing. I've seen a lot of comments suggesting that maybe this is something that, we didn't think through, but it is something, it's based on the numbers, it's based on the teacher contract. and the number of students that a teacher can have. So the unfortunate thing is we cannot guarantee it, but again, our focus would be at the end of the school year, should your student still be in virtual school, that we would do our best to put them back where the school site that they last attended. So that is one of the main questions. Another one, let's see. Are we transferring into virtual school and transferring back, and is there paperwork? That's something that we would have to work on. I don't have an answer for that right now, if it's a transfer in and transfer back. And I can't answer that, but that will be something that we will put in writing once we determine that answer.
Heidi, I see one that keeps coming up, and is that in the hybrid model, is Edgenuity the platform that is being used on the days that they are home? And the answer is no. It will look similar to what it did in the springtime, with your teacher assigning some assignments and doing some calls and checking in with the kids, but it will not be a separate program like Edgenuity. The teachers have gone through a lot of professional development and have signed up for a lot of professional development in the next coming month to prepare us for distance learning, but the program is not Edgenuity that will be used in the fall for hybrid.
And there was a question about there were several questions about why can't we just do what we did in the spring in terms of the students learning distance all year, everyone doing the same thing. There's a Senate Bill 98, which outlines how schools will move back into education. And one of the things is that we are not allowed to only offer distance for the school year. So we have to provide a way for students to do face-to-face learning, but that's only if the health numbers change and everything is safe to go back to school. So that's why we can't just offer distance learning for the entire district, that we're just not allowed to do that. So we're offering two ways of educating our kids. But again, every student in JESD is going to start at home in the fall. It's just some students who are in the hybrid model, the goal is to get them back face-to-face when it is safe to do so. And those students who are in virtual school will stay in virtual school unless in December you decide that you want to change and go into the hybrid model, you can do so. You would just have to email us. So I hope that kind of answers a few of the questions. Let me see.
I have another clarification that came through. One of the questions was, why can't your child's home teacher also be the Edgenuity teacher? Well, your child's home teacher will be teaching a full class of kids 5 days a week that are in the hybrid model. So we can't also ask them to teach a full class of kids on Edgenuity.
Let's see.
Lots of where to sign up. Heidi, do you want to take that one? Where do we sign up for it?
Okay. So if you should have received an email and a letter, probably the email went out Thursday and or Friday, and the letter should have gone out on Thursday as well. So you should have received it this weekend or today. Within that email and letter, there at the last page is the sign up page. So you would identify your student's name is on the hardcover letter, but you would write your student's name if you do the email, write their name, their school information, and sign it, and then send it back to the district office. You can also email it, and I will put the email in the chat, but it's jesdenroll@jeffersonesd.org. And again, I'll put that in the chat. So you can email the letter back, you can hand deliver it and just drop it in the mailbox, or you can send it to my attention here at the district office. And
if if an emergency were to come up and your child would not be able to log on to Edgenuity, it would be treated just like at the traditional school model. If your student isn't able to come to school that day, they need to notify the teacher and let them know why. The lessons are all recorded online, so they would be able to make up the lessons. But if they're going to be out of school more than 1 or 2 days, the teacher definitely needs to be notified, just as if it were traditional school. Attendance daily is required unless somebody gets sick. Hopefully nobody's really vacationing anywhere these days, but if something were to come up and you needed to leave, just like traditional school, let the teacher know and we'll put plans in place.
Someone asked, how does graduation work for students on virtual learning? So we're talking about 8th graders. We haven't worked that out, but we definitely will do something, probably a virtual graduation for our 8th grade students. And we'll talk more about that. Can you clarify virtual students can switch back in December? Yes. So let's say, so virtual school is a semester. So it's 2 semesters basically that we're looking at in terms of a full year. And so December 14th would be the end of the semester. So let's say your student goes through until December and you decide, you know, I really do want them to go back to face-to-face. I feel like it's safer now, and whatever your rationale, you would just send us an email and then we would work on their placement, hopefully back at the school that they left from. And then we would place them back, and then you would go back into face-to-face learning. So that, hopefully that
Anyway, what about the opposite of that? If they continue with hybrid and then hybrid starts to move back into school and they are not comfortable moving back into school, can they hop over to virtual school?
So once you're in the hybrid model, if the hybrid students go back face-to-face and we have to all go back to basically shelter in place, or we all have to go back to our at-home learning, your student would then go back to at home with their teacher, meeting with their teacher again twice a week, but just at home. If a student is in the hybrid model and they want to switch over to virtual school after December, we would have to have a conversation about that, and that would be on an individual basis. And you would just send myself or Jennifer an email. Do the kids in hybrid get to go outside for recess? So again, this conversation is more for the virtual school. Questions about the hybrid model, please email me. And I'll put my email in the chat box. But we want to focus today's conversation on virtual school. I did see a message saying, can we do this, have a meeting, a community meeting about the hybrid learning, and we can definitely do that. So we will work to plan that, and we'll send an email out about that as well.
Virtual school or hybrid school both begin August 19th?
Yes. And I know it seems like there's a short amount of time to make a hard decision, and we totally understand that. We would love to extend the deadline. However, we have to get our classes situated. So all of the kids who decide to do virtual school, that impacts the hybrid school and the number of students in the classroom, the teachers. So we are trying to really get our regular schools set and our virtual school set. And school starts August 19th. So we need to, our deadline was set for July 31st to make that decision so that we could then begin to get the teachers we need for virtual school. Those teachers have to be trained and get your students in the appropriate placement. And that takes a little time. So unfortunately, we can't keep extending the time back. I do recognize that the 31st is this week. If you are unable to make that decision, please give us an email and we can then have a conversation. But we do have to set a deadline so that we can start making classrooms and get all of our students and our staffing situated.
There was a question about why 2 different curriculums for hybrid and virtual school, and does that affect testing and assessments? No, it doesn't affect testing and assessment. Our virtual school students will be taking the same assessments and tests that our hybrid model students will be taking. It's just simply a different curriculum. We're still doing the same state standards. The same core subjects are going to be covered. You can think of it that like the textbooks that, for example, San Francisco uses is different textbooks than Daly City uses. However, the material and the standards are the same.
Someone said, I sent the paper for virtual school. How will you know when you're accepted? So if you are choosing virtual school, every student that chooses virtual school is accepted. We will send you some more information, but if you are opting for virtual school, then your student is going to be put into virtual school. We're not denying anyone from virtual school. How can families help JESD to get approval to hold off on hybrid for fall 2020? So we did have a board meeting last week, and it was approved at the board meeting. So unfortunately, but if you have suggestions, we definitely want to hear from families. And remember, we're talking about all of the students in JESD. So when you're thinking of your suggestions and how to make improvements, think about all of the students and families that will be affected by it. We're definitely open to listening and hearing ideas because we do want your feedback.
Lorraine, I got you. 5th time with IEPs and 504s. There was a slide in there about there. If you have an IEP or a 504, you are more than welcome at virtual school. I did mention that the Edgenuity lessons are the same for everybody, and then the Jefferson teacher will modify and accommodate based on the IEP goals. But absolutely everyone is invited if they feel it necessary to be at home.
And I just put my email address in the chat, and I'm going to put Adam's email in the chat. If you have a student with an IEP, please email Dr. Adams if you are interested in getting into virtual school. He will have answers and support you in getting into virtual school so that we can meet your students' IEP goals. Hold on one second. Okay.
Heidi, since it sounds like a lot of them maybe haven't received this letter, could we maybe post it on the website and they can print it off the website?
Yes.
They can get it?
We will do that after this meeting is over.
Great.
Oh, thank you, Miss Galvin. Are you?
So the sample schedules were just samples, but it's a rough draft of what it would look like. And yes, a 1st grader would be expected to listen to at least an hour of ELA lessons and an hour of math lessons, 45 minutes an hour. Again, there's going to be a few hiccups probably here at the beginning while we learn it. But in order for a student to successfully reach all the standards that they need to reach by the end of the school year, there is a certain amount of instructional minutes that they do need to sit with. And I will say that the 1st grade lessons, I'm sorry that there wasn't one posted here, and I can certainly get you one, but they are very engaging. It is like watching a cute little cartoon with the teacher up in the corner talking about the cartoon characters and nouns and short words and reading sentences, and it is really engaging for them. So it's not like a boring lecture for 1st graders. So, but they are going to have to sit just like they would have to sit in the classroom for a 60-minute language arts lesson or a 45-minute language arts lesson.
So I put my email address in the chat, and I will do it again. For those of you who do want to enroll that have not received the email or the letter, I did put in the chat the email address that you can send your information to. And for those of you that cannot print out your form, you can send your form to jesdenroll@jefferson.esd.org. It is in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat again. And we will add all of these email addresses to the last slide when we're done. Why not look at the school year in trimesters? So part of the Edgenuity is that it's in semesters, and their curriculum is in 2 semesters. So in terms of virtual school, that's why we can only break it up in 2 semesters. So December and then the end of school. But for elementary students, in our regular normal school year. That for elementary, it's broken up into trimesters. Will there be any electives for students? Yes. So virtual school students will have access to 2 electives, and we are determining what those electives will be, but we're also asking the question if students can choose their own electives. And if that's the case, we'll provide that list to parents in the coming days.
I have a question here about workbooks and the primary grades. And yes, there are workbooks. Of course, they're back ordered because everybody's ordering them right now, but we are going to get them to you. And until we can get you the full workbook, we will get you the copies. We'll have some sort of materials pickup day where you can come grab everything. There was another part of that. Oh, and for as far as specific school supplies, once we have everyone enrolled in virtual school that we know is going to be at virtual school, then we'll pass out that information to the families enrolled in virtual school.
Okay. So the question, will there be a forum where both options will be discussed thoroughly? So this forum is for virtual school, and we have another exact same meeting tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. to answer questions again, and we're doing the exact same presentation. And we will set up a forum for the hybrid model to talk specifically about the hybrid model. And then parents can make an informed decision.
Maria, I see you. Your question about virtual.
Uh-oh.
I see you. I have children at home that are going to be on distance learning, and am I out?
We can hear you now.
Okay, I was just speaking to Maria, who has multiple kids at home on virtual school and working parents, and I said, I'm right there with you. I'm the same person. And you asked for suggestions, and I can only suggest what I am doing. And there are these all over Facebook and whatnot about finding or either nearby, having them kind of pod up together. 1 or 2 kids come. Certainly not everybody. That's for sure.
What happens if you're in the hybrid model and when the time comes still are not comfortable sending your kids back? What would then be the option? It depends on when that happens. So if we would have to have a discussion about that, putting your student into virtual school, if at the time, when your student's in the hybrid model and you're just not ready to send them back, we would have to have individual conversations about what to do next. So again, just to reiterate, this community meeting is about virtual school. We will definitely hold a community meeting about the hybrid model. And we will have that discussion today and plan it and then send out a message to the families to let you know when that conversation will be. No, you do. So someone asked, do we have to sign up for hybrid? So no, everybody is placed in the hybrid model. All students in JESD will be placed in the hybrid model. You have to opt into virtual school. So if you choose virtual school, you will sign that form and send it back. If you do not sign the form and send it back, your student will be placed in the hybrid model. Thank you for asking that question.
If virtual school does not work for my child, can I move back to hybrid? We can discuss it, but not prior to December 14th. We are building classes and teachers assigning to classes, and we need to at least assign for worth a semester's worth. Same with our hybrid models. We are assigning students to teachers, and if you try to move back into the hybrid model prior to December 14th, we could possibly be over caseload of teachers to students. So we ask for the commitment to be a full year. But we would be interested in talking to individual parents by December 14th if they want to do in the late winter, springtime, move over to hybrid.
Will there be a legal holiday schedule on virtual class too? Yes. So our students will follow they're still JESD students. They will follow all holidays, and we'll send out those calendars as well. So yes. is this the website to enroll in virtual school? No, so that's an email address to send your paperwork. In order to enroll in virtual school, you'll need to fill out the form that you received in the email or in the mail. If you have not received that, we will post this the form up on the website after our meeting.
To assign a log on at their scheduled time. Ideally, yes, it's a school day, 8:30 to 2:30, and they're attending language arts and math classes and science and social studies classes at a designated time during the day. If they cannot, we can certainly talk about that and make arrangements. The lessons all are videotaped. However, the Jefferson teacher that is supporting your student through these lessons will only be available during the It would be helpful if the student had viewed the Edgenuity video lessons in order for the teacher to offer support. Yes, the Chromebook will work. We will supply you with any of the tech needs as far as the Chromebooks, but the ones that they used in the springtime will definitely work for Edgenuity. And if you don't have a Chromebook, we will get you a Chromebook.
Will there be counseling sessions in virtual school? So yes, students will have access to counseling in virtual school. So all the things that happen in our traditional schools will happen for our students in virtual school. It's just those students will be learning from at home. They are still JESD students. They still have access to all supports that JESD provides. Does the 2 days in school start in 6 weeks after the school year starts? Oh, okay, so you're talking about the hybrid. So I'll speak to that. So the students who are in the hybrid model start at home. And we will be looking at the health data, weekly, daily, weekly. But we, at the 6-week mark, will look at the health data and look to see what's going on, to see when it would be safe, if it would be safe to bring our students back. And if it is safe, we're not going to say, okay, in 6 weeks, now we're bringing our students back to school. We will slowly bring our students back into school, and we will rev up for about 2 weeks. So families would have time to plan for students to go back to school face-to-face. But the 6 weeks is just a time that we've given to say we're going to look at that health data at 6 weeks to see what's happening. That does not mean that in 6 weeks students will go back into face-to-face, because we don't know, where we will be with COVID-19 in 6 weeks.
Virtual school is free, just like traditional hybrid school. A couple of people have asked about special ed questions, and a couple of questions that were answered in the presentation. So again, there's a lot of questions here, and I know our time is getting limited, but maybe watch the presentation again and some of your questions will be answered. But off the bat, 504 IEP services will definitely be met, whether through teletherapy or we can contact Dr. James Adams and make arrangements.
Okay, so I think someone's asking where the presentation is at. We have yet to put it up. When we end our presentation and we get the recording, we will post the presentation up on the website, as we'll post up the slides on the website, as well as the recorded presentation. Let's see. Will there be
Doing a time check at 2:59.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the email addresses in the chat box again. And again, we will put these on the slides for you. So my address .
While she's doing that, there's a couple of questions about why Edgenuity. San Mateo County Office of Education offered us several programs to choose from. After some research, that we selected that Edgenuity would be the best match for our school district and our students and our needs. Alan, yes, virtual school students will start an Edgenuity, and hybrid students will start distance learning in their classrooms with teachers on Zoom.
And then to send your forms. Okay, so I've put in all of the email
As
addresses.
far as the scheduling,
Go ahead. Oh, I put in all of the email addresses, and if you want to email your enrollment form, the email enrollment form is, the email is there, jesdenroll@jeffersonesd.org. Jen, are you there? I think she's frozen.
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So again, thank you all for being here today. We will post the recording on our website, and we will post the slides on the website, and the email addresses will be on the slides. Please give us about an hour to post this information up, as we have to wait for the recording to download, and we need to download the slides. We are holding the same meeting tomorrow, so if you have friends who were unable to join today, please join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. with the same link. And if you want to join in tomorrow at 6 p.m. and hear the same presentation, please do so. We will send out information about when the hybrid community meeting will happen over the next few days. So thank you all very much. And we look forward to seeing your students at some point in time this school year, whether it be in the hybrid or in virtual. Take care, everybody.